Welcome, everyone. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. Welcome to Facebook Live Q&A for our group, our Facebook group. It is the 30th of October, year 2024, and it is one day before Halloween. For everybody in the United States, happy Halloween. Enjoy giving out candy to the little children. And then it's actually Diwali for everybody that follows the Hindu festival of Diwali. So happy Diwali as well to everyone. It's a festive season. We're entering the festive season, right? After this Halloween, then we have Thanksgiving, then we have Christmas, then New Year's. It's party time, New Year's. So let me introduce our panel. Today we have Lakshmi, who is part of our core group of meditators, as well as she leads our workshop sessions on mantra chanting. She's one of the session leaders. Good evening, Lakshmi. Thank you so much for joining. And then we have Patricia, who is part of our core group of meditators. Good evening, Patricia. And then we have Sri Lakshmi, who's here with us online. So last week we did a gene key. I'm going to take this out and I'm going to open again, supposedly according to the book, if you open the page to a gene key, that is what is meant for today. So let's see what gene key comes up. This is an easy one. The 18th gene key is the healing power of the mind. Physiology is the lymphatic system. Amino acid is alanine. It says codon ring, the ring of matter. The 18th shadow, the shadow is judgment, which is very easy, right? The victim mind, built into the human genetic matrix, is a deep sensitivity to imperfection. And it is this sensitivity that gives me rise to the human qualities of criticism and judgment. As we shall see, the 18th gene key and its themes of judgment and integrity can have either an empowering or a disempowering effect on you and others. This theme of judgment runs about as deep in human nature as any other trait you can imagine. The 18th shadow begins in your childhood. It has built-in need to challenge authority, and the first real authority in your life is your parents. So challenging your parents is one. And there's like more on that. Repressive nature's inferiority. The repressive side of the 18th shadow is about feeling inferior. This pattern first develops through our relationship with our parents, particularly during our teen years. If our parents judge us too harshly during these formative years, a pattern of self-judgment sets in. If you're one of these people, then your pattern is to turn judgment in on yourself. Out of your own self-judgment, you become a conformist, going along with the majority instead of standing up for yourself and your own convictions. All judgment is based on comparison. And with self-judgment, you compare yourself unfavorably to someone who you consider to be above you. Reactive nature is superiority. The reactive side of the 18th shadow manifests as the judgment of others based on feeling superior. And then the 18th gift is called taking on the world. And let me, the 18th siddhi is perfection. Just as the 18th gift completes our journey from childhood to adulthood, the 18th siddhi shows us how to heal our mental anguish and assume our true place in the universe as whole adults. It does this through tireless, compassionate service to the vision of perfection. When you put your integrity in service to the whole, and amazing things happen, you become more and more dissatisfied. The more good you do, the more you realize how much more you could do. This is known as divine dissatisfaction. So there's a huge paragraph on that. So the siddhi is perfection. The gift is integrity, that we, actually the gift is integrity, not taking on the world, that we live our life with integrity. So integrity as a vibration means far more than just holding fast to your values. It is actually a word often used by architects and engineers to describe the strength of material structures. Integrity is a deeply physical attribute and is actually a function of your immune system in maintaining the tensile strength within your body. For many people who have to resolve issues from the teenage cycle, it will take a full 7 years, whether through therapy, body work, or some other sustained system that targets your conditioning. So there's a huge, so that's what we're going to discuss, Lakshmi, is the shadows, judgment, the repressive nature is inferiority, reactive nature is superiority. The gift of this judgment is that we live our life with integrity, and the siddhi, or the highest state, is perfection. Go ahead. Thank you.
Yeah, it's a very interesting, the entire book is interesting. So for me, what comes up is, yes, we are all born, when we come to this earth, we are that pure beings with no layers of judgment or feeling superior or inferior or nothing. You are, this divine being who will just smile at a murderer or who will smile at a CEO in the same way, because you have no judgment. And pretty soon, as we are growing up, society and then parents, they all teach us these things, and then we have all those layers. So often when we are in any group setting, when we are going into meeting new people, people often ask us questions like, hey, do you own a home or rent a home, or what kind of car do you drive, or what is the kind of job that you do. Is mainly they want to place themselves above you or below you. It's that's how the human ego always works, because they either want to feel, hey, I'm better than that person because I own a house and she's renting a house, or I am better than her because I'm driving a better car than she is driving. So it's all so when you start going deeper and deeper into yourself, and then you stop all these judgments, and you see everyone as in that sameness, you bow down to their the being in each and every one of them, that you feel that oneness wherever you go. I feel that this particular gene key gets activated more and more, and then you are no longer even judging your parents if they have taught you some things, because they didn't know any better. So you are not, you actually are in this state of gratitude and forgiveness, because most of the time you are in the state, the present moment. And present moment is a gift, which it's just like a package gift, comes with acceptance. Yes, prior to right now, before this, I also used to judge people, but right now I'm not going to do that. So you just forgive yourself and forgive others who are doing that, and a huge burden gets off when you are not going into the past or future or judging anybody. I don't know about the perfection, because I think we are all imperfectly perfect. So as a human, we'll all have some imperfections, but it's okay. We acknowledge that, though we acknowledge those imperfections, and try to live with integrity. Right now, that is what is coming up, and then I'll catch up next time after Patricia speaks.
Eternally grateful, Lakshmi. Thank you. Always sweet and precious. Thank you so, so much. Go ahead, Patricia, if you have something else.
I have a request. Could you just read that one sentence that was talking about something about human nature, that it has that sensitivity? What was that? That like very on the very beginning, something about being very sensitive to a judgment or something, or approval or something. Because that word, for some reason, that like we are born with that deep sensitivity to some, was it right in the beginning?
So he says, he calls it the victim mind. Built into the human genetic matrix is a deep sensitivity to imperfection, which Eckhart Tolle calls it living from a sense of lack and incompleteness. Right?
I used to be a huge victim. I started realizing more and more of the victim inside me, and then I started tracing it to my mom, who was a victim. You know, she always used to. She lost her dad when she was an infant, and so she the society said that she is bad luck. So she used to be a huge victim, and then that generational victimhood came, and yeah. So now the awareness quickly comes, even if I for a minute if I think in that direction.
The
Thank you.
victim mindset, right?
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Lakshmi.
Mhm.
So what's amazing about the way he says it is that even though I knew it, but almost for the first time, I felt that I really heard it, that it's not just me, that it's not something wrong with me, that I had such a strong victim identity, that it's that sensitivity of a human of their imperfection, and this is what victimhood does. So, and I'm noticing more and more right now around me how people just don't even know that that's what they playing, that role. By
I want to read a little bit more that
Okay.
may shed some light. Right here, he says the key to this process lies in the key to this process lies more in the frequency of the parent than the child. If the parent makes the mistake of taking this process personally, the child will never fully make the transition through this biological phase. Instead, become stuck at the same low frequency as the parents.
Wow.
If, however, the parents do not get stuck in their own judgmental or self-judgmental patterns, then this phase will result in true adulthood. Sadly, most children never make it to true adulthood, but stay solidly trapped in deep, low-frequency patterns of judgment for the rest of their lives.
Yep. See it all the day.
The 18th shadow gives rise to a collective phenomenon in the world known as the victim mind. The victim mind is a conglomeration of all the undermining judgmental thought patterns throughout the world. If you sincerely examine your own thoughts during a typical day, you will probably discover that a great percentage of your thinking is affected by the victim mind. In other words, you are allowing your mind to be influenced by the collective negative thought pattern of the whole of humanity.
It is incredible the way it's presented. So I wonder.
So this is another reason why Eckhart Tolle says, don't take it personally, right? Because the negative thought pattern of being judgmental seems like a collective in humanity. It's in the like that thought pattern is in the consciousness of the collective to be judgmental.
Yes.
So we
And,
just absorb that thought pattern, right?
and I didn't grow up at 18. I got both of my parents were such strong victims on a different level, because my father on the outside was very capable, very controlling, very highly critical of everybody around. He wasn't just us, the kids, the wife, but everybody out there. Like, honestly, he just was saying bad things and calling people bad names of how dumb they were. So I grew up in this very strong. And then my mom, on the other hand, was a pure victim, just sitting and crying how her husband is bad and he doesn't understand and he's yelling, and all she wants to do is do the right thing, and then he never approves of. It's like so yeah, I definitely took it in as my identity, and you could even testify to it, that when we met was like 3 years ago, 3.5, that I was still very deeply identified with that. But I'm hoping with all the meditations and light that Eckhart Tolle shines on it, and meditation of Dr. Joe, I find myself in many situations not even feeling like a victim anymore, but I do still notice how other people around me, first thing they go, it's that, okay, blame others, it's not my fault, it's just I'm a victim here, like I had nothing to do, all I wanted to do the right thing, and blah blah blah. It's so strong, but I see it and don't let it, like take me in with it, but I still see it. So I guess I'm still not fully recovered if I observe it that much on the outside. What do you think? Is that the case?
If people around you are still doing the same pattern of behavior like your dad?
Yes, and that they're being critical, victimizing themselves, or blaming others. It's just that, the shadow of that wanting approval, and then criticizing and judging others, like everything out of, I wouldn't say everything, but so many things out of what they're talking and seeing their reality is out of judgment, which is
what he's talking about, right?
right. Yeah.
The 18th shadow.
Yes, it's just
So
a comparison. But I love the integrity piece, because many times I actually, even in my line of work, I keep explaining customers that the integrity of the structure might have been compromised due to, this and that. So I'm like, yeah, that's a good way to feel that strength, internal strength of the physical build, that it's integrity, not just doing the right thing, even if it's difficult or even if someone else is watching, but also being just strong in us, like the physical strength of the body, the immune system, that it's not compromised, right? Very awesome. And it's 18 is the number that I've been seeing a lot as well. So interesting.
Another way to think, Lakshmi, about thank you so much, Patricia. Another way to think about it is if we say integrity, it is more like what I feel like now, because of this degree of brain and heart coherence, because of Dr. Joe's meditation. I experience the degree of integrity I have with my soul is 100%. Like before, maybe it would get contaminated by my ego, right? But now it's like, I think integrity is more of we are acting one with our soul or our inner being. We are one with our inner being. You want to talk about that, Lakshmi? Like, no matter what, like anything that happens, like I was saying, right? I'm working on a huge project, and no matter their challenges with whenever we are doing heavy mental work, there are challenges arise, but there is forgiveness, like immediate forgiveness. Like Eckhart says, right? Forgiveness of the present is much more important than forgiveness of the past, because you will not accumulate any karma, or you won't accumulate as you forgive moment to moment, right? So there's immediate forgiveness, and it's the whole, okay, now I did breath work, I got into alignment again. Now I did my morning meditation, so I'm in alignment when I join all my calls in the morning. Then I do my meditation in the evening, I'm in alignment. Because of that constant alignment, the integrity is there. So if you want to speak about that, Lakshmi, and I'll see what he says about integrity, since Patricia brought that up. Go ahead. Thank you.
Yeah, so yeah, in my line of work, I meet a lot of kids on everyday basis. So I'm constantly blessing all these kids wherever I go. And yeah, whatever comes up when you face challenging situations or challenging personalities, or whatever the life situation is, we are able to deal with it much better because of the integrity. So there is no victimhood anymore. There is like I really appreciate Gabor Mate's uh, quote. He said that if you are getting triggered, the ammunition is inside you. So you need to know what that ammunition is, and ultimately you need to diffuse that bomb that is inside you, and that is your work, life work, to recognize what are your triggers. So even if something triggers me, then I am thankful to that situation or to the person that triggered that, and because now I realize that I still have triggers that I need to dissolve. So I think all integrity comes when you are not blaming any external situation or the external person, and you are looking into yourself and going deeper and deeper, and dissolving those layers. It's just unlearning, right? You learned all this from your parents and the society, and now you are unlearning slowly. So that is where the integrity comes from, and to recognize that, okay, if he or she pushed my button, I still have these buttons that people can push. So my job in this life is to be buttonless, that I have no buttons, that even if the situation or the person they have no power, the external situations have no more power. So that is my life work, is what I feel. Thank you, Poonam. Yeah.
Grateful, eternally grateful. Thank you so much. Here he says about integrity, he says, to summarize, he says, to uphold integrity, you have to be courageous. You have to challenge anything and anyone who does not meet your high standards. To live with integrity is to take on the whole world, to challenge it to meet the high standards you're setting. Wherever you see someone living with integrity, you're seeing someone using the power of judgment in an objective and impersonal way. This is the great gift of the 18th gene key, not to use or take judgment personally, but to learn to judge from your heart. Judging from the heart can never be cruel, because true integrity has only one purpose: to serve the whole in the spirit of truth and compassion. I love the word serve the whole in truth and compassion. And that's what I
Yes.
feel, right? Like
Yeah.
the compassion and love arises more than like something happens, like somebody said something to me very like it was a very negative remark that they said to me, right? But then at that moment I just overlooked it. First there was immediate forgiveness, right? And then later on, like I was like in the evening when I was doing my meditation, I was like so much love for that person that, you know, people operate, as Eckhart says, people operate out of their level of consciousness or unconsciousness.
Exactly.
Right? We have to forgive
Exactly.
them. We have to let go. If not, we will accumulate a lot of negativity in our body about that person.
Ultimately, I feel all forgiveness is self-forgiveness, because it is your mind which is telling you all these stories about them, because the situation is as it is. It's your mind which
Right.
which is telling you. For example, you know, this is not it's the external situation. Just a few 2-3 weeks ago, the weather in my place was so hot. It was more than 100 degrees hot, and the kids couldn't even play outside. So everybody was complaining how hot it is. And now the weather has become very cold, and now everybody is complaining how um, cold the weather is. So whether it is hot or cold, it is our judgment which is making us miserable,
Right.
that I am a victim of this weather, or I like it when it is like this weather. You know, you, instead of accepting the weather as is, right? It's so ultimately all forgiveness is self-forgiveness. Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank
Yeah.
you, Lakshmi.
Mm-hmm.
Great for it.
Mm-hmm.
Anything, Patricia? Now that you learned about the integrity.
I just love how he presents the gift and then the shadow, because so we have that gene, right? And then we can turn it around. We can use its gift, even though in the beginning it looks like we just cursed by its shadow, and that's what we experience up to that point. It's like, well, so judgment is not bad. I don't have to remove the judgment, but I can just now use the judgment of the mind to serve it.
In truth and compassion.
Right, to serve the integrity. And instead of blaming or criticizing or making others feel bad or myself feel bad for something, just see it for what it is, and then have that compassion and truth and say, well, I choose not to be like that, or I choose to act with integrity versus, you know, sell my soul for this and that, to lie, to deceive, just to manipulate, to get where I think I need to be. So that, and the fact that he talks about being brave, it is being
courageous.
brave, because courageous, right? Because it means many times that you got to stand up to the conformity of others. I mean, to conformity of society that wants you to be a certain way, and you know deep down that it's wrong, like it's not the right, just because everybody says it, but it's hurtful. I'm not gonna join them, but it means that I'm gonna stand out. And I have to be many times alone for a while. And interestingly enough, I have a feeling that if you have that courage to stand up, and in the beginning is a lonely and scary place, when other people see that, in those that the consciousness is more, you know, it's waking up, they're gonna see, oh yes, I can do that too. If they can do it, if they can stand up for what is right, I'll join them, or I'll do it next situation. If something like this happened, I will be the one, you know, with integrity. So I think that's, but you don't know. It's like that's unknown thing. And like what Dr. Joe Dispenza said, you have to be uncomfortable because that's uncomfortable. I mean, standing up to norm, to something that everybody does, that's accepted, so, and familiar, to do something that your soul is saying to you.
So in your case where you see that your coworkers are judgmental and complain, what you could do is probably you yourself not participate,
Right.
right? And then like if you could, like you've done that before, right? Like show them a different view of the same thing. Like I don't know, I would need an example of what the complaint was. So turn it around for them.
Yeah, it's, you know what, it's,
And then
a lot of times it's just that they just know their side of the story and very quickly they jumping into conclusion. Oh, he did this and he did that and she did this, and without even really, it's like, let me ask what happened. Like, what happened here? I noticed something that might have been done differently or that caused something. What was your thinking when you did that? Like, what were your, because sometimes the other person is completely, in a sense, innocent because they were going after different results or from a different angle, and once they start talking, all of a sudden when they concentrate on solving it instead of like blaming each other, who is right, who is wrong, then the solution comes out and everybody is still respectful and left with, you know, honor, versus just making one person a scapegoat, or just, you know, to make you feel right, let's make someone wrong. You know what I mean?
the one thing I would say is Byron Katie in I think it's in her book Loving What Is. The first so Loving What Is, if you listen to the audiobook, she actually puts the recording of like her workshop, and she's working. I don't know if anybody understands how Byron Katie leads her workshops. She sits on a chair, she chooses one of the participants and asks them to sit another chair, and they bring up whatever they do, the Judge Your Neighbor worksheet, and then she goes through the Judge Your Neighbor worksheet with that person, right? So this was a young kid who said that his parents were very judgmental about him because he was into spiritual work, but they were probably, you know, how in the South, maybe he was somewhere in Tennessee or something, you know, they say it's the Bible Belt and people are very strong Christians and they stick to the Bible and like to their Christian morals, right? And so they would judge him for doing the meditations or judge him for going into what this is called New Age spirituality, right? So Byron Katie, the first question Byron Katie asked this kid is, what planet are you on? This is planet Earth. We just judge, right? If you say the sky is blue, that is a judgment. And that hit me, right? Even something as simple,
Neutral.
we do not realize even saying the sky is blue is a judgment. Even saying, and I remember in one of the books, A New Earth or The Power of Now, Eckhart says we constantly have this if I see my old self of 10 years ago, I noticed that it's like you walk to the grocery store. Do you all realize, like, as you see every person, you go, what kind of a dress is she wearing? What kind of a shirt is he wearing? Why is he wearing that color? Constantly a tape is running in our head.
Yes, I agree. I notice this all the time. Even someone sends me a picture, all of a sudden I see that is the person on the picture looking good or whatever. It's the hair. Like I don't even want to see it, but the mind is with those judgments to try to categorize it and put it in my head. Is it good or bad? Is it this and that?
Exactly. So Eckhart says that's what we need to break away from, is this constant tape that is running that constantly wants to speak about what we are observing. Right?
Mm.
Oh, that person, look at that waiter. He's not putting the plates down properly. Or look at that person. They didn't look at this restaurant. They have such loud music. Right. There was one time my coworker and I, her and I, we went to, and she's very spiritual as well. She was into Swami Yogananda's this thing. We walked into a restaurant, and the first thing I said, "Oh my God, there's so much loud music playing." Right, and she was like, "Aren't you judging that?" Right, because we are of that nature now. I've gotten to that nature that I want peace, I want like milder music, and I want it to be, I wish they would turn off the music. Do you all realize, do you all realize that these days restaurants constantly play TV, and like humanity wants that stimulation of some content to such a degree that we cannot deal with quiet. Even Eckhart in one of his talks was saying, I don't know if you'll remember, there used to be these high-end restaurants where you were supposed to be really quiet. There wouldn't even be the sound of cutlery or the plates or anything. The whole restaurant was really, really quiet, and you ate in quiet. Right? Do you all observe that now everything is like very loud? I know Lakshmi went on.
I mean, the restaurants that I go to, recently I went with a couple of friends to a restaurant. I in fact asked that guy if he can shut off the music because there were not that many people, first of all. So I said that, and they did honor that. So yeah, I think it is all the inner pollution equals external pollution is what Eckhart also says that. So we as humanity, we have become so negative in our thinking, so that externally also, the pollution, and also whether it is coming in the form of sound or trash, it doesn't matter. We want the sound to be so loud that so that we are not
being tortured by a mind,
yeah.
being tortured by a mind, right? Something else is going on constantly.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's just so beautiful that, right now I think that, oh, these birds were always there. These trees were always there in my life. Why did I not appreciate them like I'm appreciating them right now? I'm constantly hearing the birds and looking at them, and I'm thinking, oh, what a beautiful, bird or nature. I just stop when the woodpecker is pecking in my neighborhood, and I just watch that. So I wasn't doing all this when I was consumed with my own thinking, because my mental sound was so much bigger than this beauty that nature was showing it to me. Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
So grateful, Lakshmi and Patricia. Thank you. Anything else, Patricia?
No, thank you for bringing that on that key. I mean, I'm noticing more and more, but I remember Eckhart talking about something about, your thoughts, and a lot of people are the victims and the judgment of the egos and stuff. And he said, then you go and you start practicing the positive thoughts. And he said, well, it's better to love yourself than to hate yourself, but still you're creating that duality between self and whoever loves it. And he said, but that's like a stage. It's better to have yourself than right. And I sometimes feel like I'm aware of the judgment, and now if I can, I would choose, instead of it's like it's cold, like said, okay, I'm experiencing some cold, but instead of just saying, oh, it's cold, I wish that, I said, okay, it's cold, but you know what, I'm alive, I'm here, so I'm trying to find a positive, but it's still not necessary. I'm still waiting to be, just be, versus having to constantly now fighting the bad thoughts with the good thoughts, like to replace it constantly, but it's still work and it's still thoughts process, instead of just completely calming that and just appreciating whatever is, instead of judging, is it good or bad? No, just is, and it's wonderful. Again, judgment is wonderful. Just is.
So one thing is to not judge the fact that you're thinking thoughts. Not feel guilty that you're thinking thoughts, because it excuse me. So when I'm doing my meditation, I noticed that about you, that you want to shut down your thoughts when you're in meditation. But I have thoughts during meditation, especially now that I have such an active work life, right? There's a lot of thoughts about what is going on during the day, but there are periods where I go in the void. So I cherish those periods that I go in the void and forgive myself for thinking. Like maybe there's a spell of 5-minute thinking, but then void. Then there's another 15-20 minutes of the void, and then 5-minute spell of thinking. I don't judge myself that I'm thinking. And that may be the reason why you cannot go into the depth of meditation, because you're judging the thinking, and then you spend your time judging the thinking during your meditation.
Yeah.
So you should, if you have a thought, it's okay to entertain the thought, but then I bring it back to my breath, my heart, like I'm experiencing the breath through my heart. And then there's an energy, like I said, right from the base of my spine to my sixth center, I could feel an energy moving. I would come into alignment, like I'd move my body into where I can experience that energy more. And then I'll come back to that present moment, right? Like the presence will arise. So, and when he says that we need to judge with truth and compassion, that level of truth and compassion only arises, I feel, when we are in that brain and heart coherence, when we have what Eckhart calls that high degree of vibrational energy, or high degree of presence or alignment with inner being. There's different words that Eckhart uses, right? You have to be aligned with your inner beingness is one. He'd say high degree of presence, turn on your dimmer switch of presence. Another way of saying. So our job as part of the 18 gene key is to judge with truth and compassion. And what was the Siddhi?
Siddhi is the perfection, integrity and perfection.
Okay, so.
But how does he really understand perfection? Because in like everyday life, people say nobody's perfect, or don't be perfectionist, because that's just gonna drive you crazy. You can never you just have to be happy with what it is or whatever. That the perfectionism is trying to, it says to hide, your inner in a deck in.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
So I wonder what that how he understands the perfection.
What I'm assuming here is the perfection of the coming from the soul perspective, that there is immediately you're not judging anything, you're not a victim anymore, you are truly compassionate all the time, that you are in that highest vibrational, the heart brain coherence kind of, so that is what I'm assuming, that he calls it perfection, where you are literally blessed with that siddhi to be in that state. So I think from egoic point, perfection is so that I get, I want this validation and appreciation from the society. That is what that is why I'm going to strive at making my house look perfect, or whatever that perfection comes. I think this is not the egoic perfectionism that this 18th key is talking about. That is what I'm thinking here. Maybe Poonam can throw more light on that.
Thank you, Lakshmi.
What he says is the bodhisattva is a being who forgoes the highest state of consciousness in order to stay in the world and help others attain that state. This tradition holds a deeply metaphorical genetic truth. Our genes are all bodhisattvas, programmed to serve the world until it has attained perfection. So he's talking about getting each and every human being to a state of wholeness. Like Dr. Joe, I think more than perfection, the word wholeness would be more appropriate, to attain wholeness. Then here he says the codon ring of matter ensures that the whole of humanity must one day reach a state of perfection where evolution ends and we as a species finally enter the dimension of eternity. Isn't that amazing?
Yes.
Mind blowing.
Yes.
Literally, because there's no mind there. Yeah.
Mind is blown. And then at the very end, he says, perfection only exists within the timeless realm, right? Perfection, only the divine is perfect.
Yeah.
So it's in the timeless realm.
Yeah.
It is beyond time and space because it is the end of evolution. The Bodhisattva gene keys keep returning to our planet as individual human beings whose sole purpose is to build this collective vision of perfection on the material plane. All human beings are involved in this great dance, whether we are aware of it or not. We are all moving towards the single dream of a species that will one day attain perfection and reach the end of its story. As we will all one day see, the end of the story also happens to be the beginning of our universal life.
Is it the state of nirvana?
Mm-hmm.
For everyone.
Right.
For everyone, yeah.
And would you consider Eckhart Tolle or Dr. Joe Dispenza or Sadhguru those beings that he's talking about, that they're here to bring
Right.
a lot of people?
To bring on the transformation where they bring other human beings into a state of perfection, which is into a state of brain and heart coherence. Yes. I think with Eckhart, I don't see a practice, but if people really absorb his teachings very well, then they can, they have to live his teachings. Once they start to live his teachings, then probably they would attain that perfection. But at some point in time, it's all about like what Dr. Joe says, right? We have to upregulate our genes, right? So as we upregulate our genes, get into that faster and faster frequencies as we meditate more and more, then we kind of like reprogram this gene key. Instead of being the victim mindset, now we are living with integrity. And the gift, we are understanding the integrity in how to judge with truth and compassion. And then we are becoming that person, like Lakshmi is, like we're beginning to go out in the world and transform other people, right? Just the fact that Tuesdays she does her meditations, look how many people are touched by that meditation, the mantra chanting and meditation. Thank you,
Yes,
Christina. Gracias. Thank you for joining. Much
I-
love.
Feel that each moment we create infinities, right? Infinities in itself, and it's always because the past and present and future, it's all simultaneously existing. So if you are present and creating from consciousness, right? It is an infinity. So in itself, if we're aware of it, it's perfect because that's what it is, right? I think that's what Eckhart is saying, that it's perfect. The moment is perfect because it is. No other way it could be. So it's perfect. You can't make it better or worse. It just is.
But on that note, let's close the Facebook Live Q&A. That we are, the Bodhisattvas are going out there and attaining perfection for others, right? Serving others, in serving others, they're helping others attain perfection.
I love it. I want to do
And
that. That's what I want to do.
empowering, that everybody is empowered, that they have the ability and grace to go transform other people. So with that, incredibly amazing evening. Eternally
you.
grateful, Lakshmi, Patricia, Sri Lakshmi
Thank you.
dropped, and Christina is here too. Many blessings. Much love.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
Happy
you.
you.
Halloween. Happy Diwali.
Happy
Bye.
Diwali. Happy
Happy
Diwali.
Thank you.
Diwali.
Bye.